Thank you for tuning in to watch our Invest San Antonio launch conference. You're about to watch panel number 1, Staying Power, how San Antonio is remaining resilient despite higher interest rates. Enjoy.
The perspective on this panel consists of leaders in banking and finance that have vested interest in seeing the greater San Antonio regional economies prosper. We will be exploring how the macroeconomic environment is impacting San Antonio businesses and how technology and strategies are keeping the area's growth moving in the right direction. I'd like to begin this panel with an open-ended question for all of you, and also ask you to just reintroduce yourself as you go ahead and answer this first question. Considering the wider economy of the South Central Texas region, what have been some of the greatest transformations that have placed San Antonio's economy and business on the overall path and trajectory that we see today? Shall I start from left to right, Jeff?
Okay, great. Thank you, Abby. Jeff Sinnott, CEO of Vantage Bank. Of course, Vantage Bank is headquartered here out of San Antonio, but we have locations all across the state, across the border from Brownsville to El Paso, up to San Antonio, and then continuing up 35 to the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and then most recently Houston. It's great to be here with everybody today, and I'll start answering the question with the trajectory of San Antonio, as Charles just said, is extremely bright. I mean, what a place to be. And everybody in this room has a part of that trajectory. All the leaders in this room, it's very wonderful to be with each of you here today. In terms of what is feeding that trajectory, I don't think it's any surprise. It's diversity. San Antonio is extremely diverse in our people, in our culture, in our perspectives, and of course in the industry itself. And in the industry, diversity has been extremely intentional. I think it's something to be very proud of for San Antonio. It wasn't so long ago that San Antonio was very much a military reliant city. But that, while military is still a very important industry, the diversification is just absolutely incredible in San Antonio. And it's been very intentional to build a top tourist destination, very intentional to incubate certain industries, attract companies, retain companies, build out technology, build out aerospace, of course, manufacturing. And then we also have such a strong healthcare industry and also biomedical sciences. And then finally, one of the things that we'll be talking about later today that's been incubated incredibly well here and is now a leader in the United States is cybersecurity. So that diversity is really what makes San Antonio such an incredible place to be, and the trajectory itself absolutely exciting. The last thing I'll say, which I think is extremely important, is San Antonio provides the southwest tip of the Texas Triangle. And the Texas Triangle from Houston, San Antonio, Dallas, Fort Worth, many believe is the most important geographical region in the entire globe. If you look out to 2050, it's expected that about 80% of Texans will live within that Texas Triangle. It's going to be one of the most important, if not already the most important region, politically, culturally, as well as economically. And San Antonio sits at that southwest tip on 35, which is the connection into North Mexico. And so when you put those things together, you put the incredible diversity of San Antonio, the incredible state that we're in with Texas, and us being where we're located on that Texas Triangle, the future is extremely bright, very bullish, and it's a great place to be.
Thank you. April?
Thank you, Abby. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for the invitation. My name is April Bailey, and I'm the market president for Amegy Bank for Central Texas. And I just moved to San Antonio about a year ago, so I am new to the city. However, I do have some pretty strong ties to San Antonio that I'm very proud of. My father, his family moved to San Antonio when he was 16 from Mexico, and he attended Lanier High School and then went to San Antonio Community College, then went to University of Texas, and then moved to Houston to work for Valero at the refineries in Texas City. So it definitely has some ties to San Antonio. And when I had the opportunity to move here with the bank, with David McGee, who's the current CEO. I knew it was going to be a great opportunity to help grow this market because we consider San Antonio, Austin, a growth market for Amegy Bank. We're headquartered in Houston. We've been there for over 30 years, very well known and established in Houston, and we want to, take advantage of the growth that's happening here in Central Texas. In terms of the city and the trajectory, I'm very accustomed to the industries in Houston, which is very much oil and gas, maritime, logistics. But what has been very eye-opening in this market is the diversity of industries that are here. You have, of course, the military and tourism, but it's impressive to see the industries such as cybersecurity, bioscience, biotech, aerospace, advanced manufacturing. I was not familiar with Port X until I moved here. I was familiar with the Port of Houston, but not Port X, and the aviation advancements are very incredible. I've also, the education piece, the workforce has been impressive here too. I think there's over 160,000 students across 16 universities in this area. You have companies that want to move here because of the workforce. A great example is JCB. They know that there's going to be 1,600 high-paying jobs, and the workforce was here to accommodate that. And, lastly, I find this city to be incredibly collaborative and very friendly with a rich culture and a wonderful quality of life. When I told my dad I was moving to San Antonio, the first thing he said is, "You're going to really like it." I think he was a bit jealous, to be honest, because he's in Houston. And the last thing I'll say, I know we'll touch on this later, is that I think San Antonio is uniquely positioned geographically when you have South Texas and you have Mexico and you have Austin. And I think, we can work collaboratively to grow this, mega region. And so I couldn't be more excited about the prospects for San Antonio and to help our bank kind of help the customers and the clients that are looking to relocate and grow here. So thank you.
Thank you, April. Parker?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Parker Hensley. I'm the market president for Bank of Texas here in San Antonio. Recently opened Bank of Texas within the last year in San Antonio. Operations in Dallas, Fort Worth, Houston for over 30 years. Bank dates back to over 100 years old out of the state of Oklahoma. But we're excited to start a new brand here in San Antonio, and it couldn't be more excited about what's going on in the market. To answer your question about the transformation of San Antonio, I'm a native San Antonian, born and raised here, and what I see is that San Antonio used to have a stigma that it was a military and a hospitality town. It was people came here to visit, to go to the Riverwalk. People came here because they were visiting a family member that was in the military. And I think we've bucked that trend pretty well to show that we're a very diversified economy, kind of echoing on the comments that have already been made this morning. But I think what's more important is how that's happened, and it's a collaboration of our business community coming together, our various civic organizations, various chambers of commerce that we have here in San Antonio, Greater SATX, our Economic Development Foundation, have really pushed to bring a collaborative view on how we bring companies to San Antonio, how we attract and retain both talent and companies. And I think the way we've done that as a community is inherently how us San Antonians think, which is we love our city, we like to work together, and we're very passionate about everything we do. That's the transformation I've seen.
Excellent. Well, thank you all for setting the stage. And let's dive into a little bit of one of the subjects for the title of this panel, and that includes a chat on interest rates, right? Given the way the national economy has performed amid higher interest rates, this higher interest rate environment, I should say, over the past several months, what strategy have your teams implemented to continue meeting customer needs in 2024? And I'll throw that out to all three of you, and maybe we'll go right to left. Parker, do you want to handle that first?
Absolutely. If you think I'm going to give you any projections on interest rates, I'm not. Don't worry.
No magic 8-ball?
Yeah, I wish. I might not be standing up here. What I would say is, I'd start by saying, and this is something that we try to say a lot, the interest rate environment that we've seen over the past 10 years prior to COVID and into COVID was extremely low. And historically speaking, that is the lowest it's ever been. And so while interest rates are higher today than they were, call it 08, all the way up into really 2022, 2023, it's not that high. And so it has changed how banks and businesses, think about, deploying capital because the cost of that capital is higher. But it hasn't fundamentally changed how we do business. And so the question, I believe, was what strategies they've been using. And I think it is really, the answer is we've just been steady in helping our customers, being consultative to them. Sometimes there's more to it than just being an equation, but banking and helping customers can be sort of like an equation, and there's different variables in that equation, and some of the variables have changed, but we're ultimately trying to find the same solution, which is helping companies grow and sustain, which actually helps everybody in the community. So in the grand scheme of things, interest rates are higher than they have been, but they're not at a level that makes economic growth impossible. So,
April?
Thank you. So I would add that it has been a bit of a challenging time for business owners with higher interest rates. As you can imagine, it's not only higher interest rates, but you've had labor challenges, you've had supply chain issues, just the cost of all your products and labor going up. And so, as Parker said, our job as bankers is to understand what our clients are going through and find solutions and find ways that we can help. And, we understand that there are going to be cycles and we have to work with our clients. I will say with higher interest rates, yes, the cost on the loan side is up, but the cost on the deposit side is also up. And so we've been working with our clients during this time to talk about their idle cash and how they can earn interest on their deposits. Another strategy that we've been focused on is cash management. How do you manage your cash? How do you deal with fraud? Post-COVID, fraud has been a huge issue, and it's something that requires a lot of hand-holding, and we want to help our clients through the other side. So, we've been focused on that. Wealth management. Sometimes we've experienced, after COVID, some business owners don't really want to maybe stay in their business. They may want to sell it. They may want to transfer it to the next generation. And now we offer investment banking services so that if a client does want to sell their business, we can help them now with that process. So there's different things that we can think about besides just the lending side. And, we want to think holistically of what our clients are going through. So, yes, it's a challenge with higher rates. We're hoping that they come down here soon. But there are other things that we can think about as they go through this period of, higher expense.
Excellent. Thank you. Jeff?
So I think the most frequent question I had at this event, as well as a similar event in Dallas by Capital Analytics, is why is a banker on a panel? Why do you have 3 bankers during this environment? Are you guys lending? And the answer is yes, we are lending, but strategies have changed a bit. I'll talk a little bit about just what we're seeing out there, and I think it's probably what a lot of you guys are doing in your businesses as well. We're seeing a lot of slowdown on more short-term, more opportunistic, shorter horizon type initiatives. We're still seeing a lot of activity on more strategic, long-term, longer horizon initiatives. And those are the conversations that we're having with our customers and our prospects. Is how are we deploying the capital? Capital is at a premium right now, and so you want to make sure that what you're deploying is really getting the leverage for you over the horizon that you're expecting it. And so it does play a part in the strategy. For Vantage Bank, we've done a few things. One, we wanted to make sure that we could take care of the customers that we have today. So while we've been a very fast-growing bank, over the last year we have slowed down, and that's been very intentional. And the reason we did that was to make sure that we could be there with our current customers and take care of them. We've talked a lot about what the equity needs to be in those projects. They pencil differently today than they did yesterday. But all in all, yes, as April and Parker said, it's an incredible environment to be in. There are still ways to make these projects make sense, taking a consultative approach, understanding what they're trying to accomplish and why, I think is extremely important. For Vantage, we sat back and we looked at our strategies and our key initiatives, and we did turn those dials a bit. We shuffled it a bit. For us, and what we talk to our customers a lot about is some of those near-term nice things to do we didn't pursue. But the things that were more long game oriented, we absolutely are pursuing. The things that can differentiate or make us a little more effective, a little more efficient, so that we can deploy capital more efficiently, stayed as very active initiatives and came to the top. And I think those same kind of conversations are important to have with your customers and prospects, and many of those conversations are probably what you're having in your own businesses today.
Great. I'd like to take a moment to drill down a little bit, and I'll start first with you, April. Amegy's Small Business Diversity Banking Program has helped previously declined applicants gain access to additional credit, with $8 million directed to Central Texas since the Special Purpose Credit Program launched in 2022. What type of opportunities does this program open up for small businesses in the current environment, and how have you seen minority business owners stand to benefit?
Well, thank you, Abby, for that question. We're very proud of this program. As you said and mentioned, it's a special purpose credit program in which we have partnered with the regulators, recognizing that sometimes small business, minority-owned business, women-owned business, veteran, LGBTQ+, may have challenges accessing capital. You know, we want to focus on the underserved community. Small businesses are the bedrock of this country. And so what happens sometimes, as an example, is you have a small business owner that wants to start a business or grow their business, and they may be putting everything on their personal credit card. And it could be a lot on their personal credit card, and sometimes that can impact their credit score, and it could, you know, decline them for a loan. And we recognize that that's a challenge. And so we have adjusted the criteria a bit to make sure that these small businesses can access capital. And along with that requires financial education. You know, how do you transition from the financial, you know, the personal financial credit cards to a business credit card? You know, just help them work through that transition. And, you know, we're excited because we're going to start having, you know, small business roundtables, because that's one thing is to access capital, but the other thing is, you know, how do you go about, you know, the business plan? How do you go about compliance and governance and IT and HR? And we want to make sure that we are putting these small businesses with other organizations that can help them, like Lift Fund, and, you know, just being very collaborative, because we want to see these businesses grow, and it's very rewarding. And so we are making progress. We are, you know, not just with Amegy here in Texas. Our parent company is Zions out of Salt Lake, and we're doing this all across the western part of the United States. And it's exciting to see this program grow and gain traction. So thank
Absolutely.
you.
And Parker, in an interview with Invest San Antonio, you noted that business owners need to be cautious of fast food banking, placing greater emphasis on relationships rather than transactions. In the current banking landscape, how does relationship banking help businesses stay alive and thrive? And what have you learned from San Antonio's overall business community that demonstrates resilience?
Thank you for that question. I do love metaphors and coming up with little taglines. But let's start by kind of answering the fast food banking. I think we've all really hit on this today. Banking is viewed as a service, and that's providing capital, taking deposits, other types of services that we provide. But a consultative approach is what's the most important part of what a banker provides to a business owner. And so when I say fast food banking, view it as you're going through Whataburger and you ask them if you can have a Whataburger. And they say, sure. Or they might say, we're out of Whataburgers that day, which has never happened at Whataburger, but they might. And so it's basically a customer comes in and asks for something, and you say either yes or no. It's pretty simple. We strive to not take that approach. Sometimes customers ask for stuff that they can't achieve right then and there, but you give them a path to get to that point, or you give them an alternative that still accomplishes what their end goals are. But you accomplish that by having conversations. It's not just, I'm going to take your order and then we move on down the road. And I think the general feeling in how people in San Antonio operate is very much relationship focused. And I think that type of banking matches well with our business owners here in San Antonio and individuals. And it just makes for a better outcome for both the bank and the business owner in the end, when it's not just, what can I do for you today? Can I take your order? It's what can we focus on what your long-term success needs to look like, and how can we achieve that for both sides of the table?
And Jeff, in the context of artificial intelligence, everyone is a stakeholder. And while there are challenges to AI integration that require our attention, the opportunities could provide businesses with some much-needed assistance at a time when business sentiment is lower than usual. How is Vantage Bank leveraging AI to provide business owners with the resources they need to grow their businesses?
I almost hate to say the word AI because you hear it constantly these days, but it is real, it is happening. I'll just start by saying, by 2024, 2025, one time we were thought that we would see cars flying through the air. Technology is moving so fast, and then you step back and say, well, there aren't cars flying through the air. I will tell you that AI is evolving extremely fast. And so at Vantage, we do use AI, except for we use it in very specific ways where we know the true source of the data. We know the data governance model around that. And the reason is because AI is only good as the learning data set that it's given. And right now, in the environment we're in, I do think it's extremely important for everybody in here in your businesses to get more comfortable with AI, to understand your data models and how you can leverage that in the future. And Vantage, we want to help with that. And so, right now we're using AI internally to really look at our way that we can accelerate responses, elevate responses, have better customer experiences, and really move faster, respond faster. But that's all internal data for us. The other thing we're doing, and we just did this with a sponsorship from Microsoft, we have an area of the bank called Vantage Collabs, where we're doing AI projects that Microsoft is helping us with and seeding some dollars to, where we're doing specific case studies within the bank itself, and then we want to also bring in outside customers and prospects to participate in that. And we want to do that in order to help those customers also start to use AI in intentional ways, take those small steps. I watch AI very, very closely, and I mentioned at the start of this that it's evolving extremely quickly. It is. The race is on. What you see in AI today versus what you're going to see next Thursday is a big leap forward. It's moving extremely fast. That's good. It's scary, but it's going to be very disruptive. And so right now we're using it in ways that's the most predictable way to use it. I suggest other people look for ways to do that. The most important thing, though, first is making sure you understand your data models, your true sources of data, so that you can train that AI accurately.
Thank you. Well, I've been really enjoying today's discussion, but all good things must come to an end. So for my last question, I'd like to pose to all three of you. A year from today, what do you think will be the emerging or ongoing trends to focus on, and what type of impact could they have on San Antonio's future? And since Parker, I know you love your magic 8-ball, how about you take this one first?
Well, the best part about the future is, unless AI can solve this problem someday to predict the future, which I don't think it will, but is we don't know what next year will bring. But what I do know is that our community is nimble, it's collaborative, and we will answer the call, whatever that call is. And San Antonio has the ability to be very resilient. I think Charles said it. It's a resilient economy. And I think when we look a year from now, we're going to sit back and say, well, we never thought this was going to happen. You never thought COVID was going to happen, right? But it did, and we got through it, and we changed the way we did things. We got more efficient. And so, the one thing I'll also say about our community as a whole, what I've found is there are a lot of places in this country that are trying to grow at all costs. Doesn't matter if they're trying to fit a square peg in a round hole, they're going to grow. Here in San Antonio, I think we focus on making sure that we're not shoving a square peg in a round hole. We're finding businesses that want to be here that make sense for San Antonio. Think of the supply and demand kind of, balance. And I think that we do that really well, and I think that that'll serve us well as we continue to grow over the next year and address whatever comes, whatever that may be.
Excellent. April?
I would say there'll definitely be continued growth. I'll give you an example. So at the bank, we have a training program. We hire twice a year, January and June, from colleges all over Texas. I came from our training program. My colleagues here came from our training program. And sometimes it's challenging because these students, they want to go to the big city. They want to go to Houston, they want to go to Dallas, Austin, and sometimes they're like, what's, San Antonio, not as exciting. But we interviewed 9 students, high caliber students from all over the state, and most of them were not from San Antonio, and every single one of them wanted to be here. And I was curious, I was like, well, why San Antonio? And they're like, they just said, I can see this as a great place to raise a family and the quality of life. And I know I can have a career here. I can have a family here. And so that was very exciting. So I think we're going to see more of that. I think this is a young city. I think there's opportunities to shape this city. So when I think about the future, I think of growth. But like Parker said, I think it needs to be thoughtful growth. Don't want to go crazy like Austin. But I think there are some great opportunities here in this city. So.
And Jeff?
So looking forward to the future, I see a new airport. No, no, just one thing I would say, I think expand a little bit on the AI side is there'll be a lot of different job descriptions, job roles in all of your companies. Prompt engineer will be something that everybody's hiring to. But I do want to emphasize that I see AI as elevating your starting position, helping where you're starting from, not replacing. It will change job descriptions, but I think that's going to have a profound impact on San Antonio and a lot of industries. And the last thing I'll say, just to go off of April and Parker is, yes, when you look at the diversity of San Antonio, the people, the perspectives, the industries, and you look at the thoughtful, the intentional approach, all with that can-do spirit, that's something that's extremely exciting. So whatever the future holds, we know that San Antonio and all of you can absolutely succeed and handle that.
Excellent. Well, Jeff, April, Parker, thank you very much. Please give my panel number 1 a round of applause. And I'm going to steal you for one quick picture before I let you go.